Well, good evening and welcome to our regular meeting for January. Glad each of you could join us. We like to begin each meeting with a moment of silence, and we would invite you to join us if you like. Thank you. First item on the agenda is approval of the January 22nd, 2019 board meeting minutes. Could I get a motion on that, please?
This is the agenda.
Agenda, I'm sorry. I said minutes.
We knew what you meant. I make a motion that we approve the regular board meeting agenda for January 22nd, 2019.
I second.
Motion second, discussion. All in favor? Celebrating our successes, Dr. Thorsman.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask if you'll come down front with me. We have a couple of recognitions tonight. First, I'll just tell everybody that it is School Board Recognition Month, School Board Appreciation Month. So I'm going to break the rules here and open an umbrella inside. But anyway, we got y'all one of these fancy new umbrellas that opens. I don't know, Shannon, you tell me.
We don't need any bad luck.
When you close
The other way.
it doesn't drip all the water on you or in your car. And it's got the logo on it there for the school district. So have y'all an umbrella that you can have and just say that we appreciate all that you do and the time you give and the effort you put into helping our students. So I want to thank all of you. And we have a special recognition for Ms. McCormick. So Denise, if you'll come down front. I'll let Mr. Lee give this to you. But Denise has served for 15 years. So we want to say congratulations and thank you to Ms. McCormick for that recognition for 15 years as a school board member.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Ms. McCormick, you get between
I guess I
mine, rows between.
Could I stand up?
One step up. Rows between.
Two thorns.
I didn't say it.
Thank you.
And we have one other recognition tonight. If Mr. Navin would come forward.
Yay.
And we've got an umbrella for you.
Nice. 15 years.
And Mr. Lee has a plaque, and we kind of struggled with what to put on it, to be honest, and we decided this, and this is true, but it makes him sound real old, and I'm not trying to call him old, but it says, presented to Andy and Abnett to commemorate his 5 decades of service to the school district of Oconee County. He worked in our county for 37 plus years and was a school board member for 12 years. So if you look at the dates, it's real close to 50 years. And 49 and a half. So he was not only an outstanding teacher and administrator in our county for a long time, you know, as his vocation, but then he gave back to the school district in his retirement, serving as a school board member, chairman 10 years, I believe. Just did an outstanding job. And so we just wanted to publicly thank him tonight for all his effort and his service to our county. And just appreciate you.
Appreciate it. All right, all ready? Oh, yes, good. Smile. Thank you.
So thank you. Andy.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Other job.
Dr. Lucas, anything you want to share about Mr. Neville?
I'd love to. We're not going around. I had the opportunity to work with Andy in 2 different capacities. When I came here in 2005, he was a principal in the district, and I remember the first time going to Code Elementary and walking in his office, I saw his paddle, Some kind of a
Good
messy
impression.
office, but he immediately took me on a tour of his school. Code was kind of an old school, but you could not imagine the pride he took in that building. Every one of his staff members loved him. His kids loved him. I talked about the paddle. That was the old day, old school way. He loved, it could work, but he loved everyone, and they just loved him in the school. And then I had the opportunity to serve as superintendent. He was on the board that hired me 2 years later. And I have to say this about his service on the board. A lot of times when former educators move to school boards, I'm not talking to you, Joe. When they move to school boards, they sometimes can get a little confused about the role of being a school person and being a politician and administrator. And I have to say, Andy never let that interfere. He was always professional, and he made all decisions based on what was best for the teachers and the students in this community. So I just want to say thank you. I've had 40 years, not 50, so I'm going to try to catch up with you in some respects, but not as a member of the board. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Lucas, for sharing that with us. Pledge of Allegiance and school highlights. Mr. Holliday, you have a student for us?
I have two, so actually I have 4 students here.
Okay,
Two students
that's
who
great.
pledge, Bryce Logan and Kenneth Jordan. Both of these students entered the EAR essay contest, and they are first and second place. Ken was first place, Bryce was second place in our school, and Ken actually won the district. So she's going on to the state competition, and if she does well at the state competition, she'll go on to the national competition. So I'm proud of them. We'll let them do the pledge tonight. They want to know if we're going to do the South Carolina one too.
We don't have a flag.
We won't put you on the spot. Y'all can do that.
Y'all
say.
mind if I put this out on Twitter? Are your parents okay with that?
They have media.
It's a good,
release.
Mr. Holliday, if they can do the South Carolina pledge, there might be a lot of adults.
We were talking about it. I don't remember doing that in elementary school. We do it at Key.
We've had a few do it. They just go right into it automatically.
So that was just habit.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First of all, thank you for letting us present tonight. I always love sharing our school. I love bragging about our school. I love our students. So I'm glad they came tonight. Glad y'all showed up. I checked with them again today, so make sure you're there. They're here today, and we appreciate all they do. I know these presentations are different from every school. I always like to share those extra things that we do, or the things that we do in school, because y'all see the numbers, y'all see data, y'all see all of that. I don't want to stand up here and regurgitate that to y'all. Y'all see that all the time. So I just want to see some of the things you may not see, just looking at school and looking at paper. Just some of the things that we do for our community and some things we do for our school. So one of the things we do, we start out every morning with our news team. And we like to get high tech at KIOE. We like STEAM, we like science, we like technology. So our school news team is student-led every day. And they use a green screen, just like our major news networks do. They can impose different pictures and do different things with that. I know that sounds, kind of geeky and all, but it's cool to see that. And they can make whatever the news story is, they can make that a part of the news itself, and just new technology and things for them to do. They also prepare scrolling announcements for our cafeteria. We've just started doing that. We installed a TV in the cafeteria with a Chrome bit. The district allows us to scroll through that. All they have to do is go and update the slideshow, and it constantly scrolls, so anyone visiting our cafeteria can see what's going on at school. Pictures of things that are going on, announcements, and so forth. So there's our TV. Those two students are the ones that update that for us. They take pictures, they upload those pictures, they put everything on, and make sure the announcements are on. This is our current new staff. We rotate that out throughout the year, so different students get an opportunity to do that. They write the script, they film it, they do just about all of it together. So I'm usually out on car duty when they're doing this, so it's pretty good production for them to get this done every day. We have a chorus and an honor choir. A lot of our activities are after school. You know, you think of elementary school, you don't think of a lot of after school activities. But we do. We have afternoon activities every day. We have before school activities. We'll talk about that in a minute too. But our chorus, very proud of our chorus. Lisa, we shared a chorus teacher last year. You know how gung-ho she is about music. But she has an after school program. She will practice on Fridays. She makes them practice all the time, and they're great. So this after-school program for our 3rd and 5th graders, they usually do 2 school performances each year, one in the wintertime, one in the spring. They'll do one at the school, and they'll do them at night too. A lot of times they do performances out in our community, you know, fundraisers. They'll go to some of the nursing homes and sing, so they like to give back to the community. We also participate in some competitions. They go to Carowinds every year. That's kind of their big fun thing they do for the year. If they've gone to all the practices, they've committed to a chorus, they get to go to Carowinds and they compete there. We also have an honor choir. Our students can apply, audition for the South Carolina Elementary Honor Choir. We had 6 students selected this year. They get to go, I think it's the 1st week of February.
Yes, since I'm Jack Toy.
Yeah, Jet Toy. That's right, because it's the same time as Jet Toy. But they'll go down to Columbia and they will perform that weekend, and they will be awarded things. So it's a neat production for them to do that too. But they still get to compete in Jet Toy if they go. So that's one of the productions they put on this year. They'll have another one in the spring. We have another club we call Imagineers. You heard me say that we like STEAM, we like technology, we like all the engineering. So our students participate in Imagineers. We've had different names for this every year, but we've stuck with Imagineers because they're using their imagination to engineer things. You know, they're using science, technology, engineering, art, math, and to put all this together, they're actually applying. They're taking what they've learned. They're testing their abilities. The other day they were making boats. They designed boats to float down with a fan to see which ones would either float or sink, and also how far they would go with the wind power. So they actually have to apply what they've learned. And it's pretty interesting. They were cheering each other on. It was a good time. Art is included in this too. And I think we're going to actually start a small art club. We have a local professional artist that wants to spend time in school, so she's going to help out with some art club things too. So just in addition to the STEAM. So you can see some of those pictures there. There's the wind-blown boats and towers they've made out of cups, materials, things like that. We have a service learning team, and this is students from across the grade levels. My son is kindergarten, he's on service learning, and they focus on serving the school and serving the community. We do a lot of food drives. We did the Walhalla United Food Drive. I think 1,700 cans, is that sound about right? I believe that's what we ended up with this year for local food banks, and we also give to Grace's Closet too. That's one of our district initiatives on that. So we collect money for our Kiwi Kindness Fund. That's for students that may be in need. If we have somebody has a house fire or things like that, we can help those folks out with our Kiwi Kindness funds. And then we always do a supply drive for the Humane Society Animal Shelter in the spring. So they'll get ready to kick that off here shortly. You can see there. Help out the Humane Society. They read mails out there and collect change for Kiwi Kindness. We have a drama club that started up last year. Our younger kids, they're not in chorus, so a couple of teachers said, you know, we'll give the time if you'll let us do a drama club. One of the best performances I've ever seen are our 1st and 2nd graders. Doing No Turkey for Perky last year was, I can't remember what the title of the book was last year, but it was a really good production. But they're going to do 3 Billy Goat Grow up here in the spring too. So our students love doing that. They're getting ready to start back up. I tried to talk my son Silas into doing it, but it's not for kindergartners yet. He was fighting me, no, I'm not going to do it. He'll do it next year. Here's the production we had this year. We have a junior baby club. We had 32 students inducted this year. So we have about 45 total members. Last year we decided to include fourth grade because they were joining in the 5th grade, but they were only a part of the baby club for half the year. So we wanted them to follow up with that after the 4th grade year so they could do service projects, whatever else that they're working on. Their service project this year is collecting the soda tabs for the Ronald McDonald House. And we do have strict academic guidelines for that. There are certain grades they have to make. And to stay on Baby Club, they have to continue to make those grades. There's a picture from our induction. Just some other things that we do. We have safety patrol every morning. We have students that greet other students. As part of Safe Kids, Safe Schools, they provide us with vests, the training to have that every day. So they help each other out in the cars. They open doors. They even touch our 4Ks when they get off the bus into their classroom. So they're a big help. The kids fight over who's going to get them out of the car. They don't want to come to me. They want to go to the kids that are getting them out. So, we have a recycling team. One of our self-contained classes. They collect recycling every Friday. So we all put the bins out. They'll collect that. Part of the life skills that they do. We had our jet toy competition. That's coming up. We like to be competitive with that with the other schools. We like to win. So, but it's y'all seen that before. They make balloon powered cars, and they have to engineer that, they have to put it together, and they have to do certain skills with those cars to win this competition. So they get serious about it. They can beat me every time. I'm not any good at it. Battle of the Books is coming up. Y'all know about that. Our team, we decided that the other day, and they're getting ready. They're practicing today at lunch. Math Madness, our DASA essay winners are with us right now. We do the soil and water conservation essay every year. And then we also participate in the Region 1 Science Fair through SWOO. And we usually have a good many kids participate and move on to the next level, win first place in a lot of those things. So I'm always proud of them. Another thing that we've done this year, we want to emphasize reading. We do that in our classrooms all the time, but we wanted some kind of incentive for our students. We concentrate on those reading steps every night, 15 minutes. So we've created this, and we had a big kickoff with the high school band and the cheerleaders. They came in, had a pep rally for our students. We want them to read at least 100 steps every 9 weeks. As soon as they read the 100 steps, they get to sign the wall. So we have a wall that's filling up pretty quick. If they make the 400 steps for the year, they get a t-shirt. And then there's some milestone celebrations throughout the year with those two. You can see students signing. There's our pep rally. I didn't think that gym could be as loud as it was that day, especially with that band, but I couldn't hear anything for several hours after. We'll have to rethink how many band members we get next time. Our SIC, our PTA, our teachers, we want to get our families in our schools, and sometimes that's a difficult thing. You always have grant games going on, you have things going on every night of the week. So we've really focused on those this year, last year, and we came up with some new ideas. Around the World Night, we want to celebrate diversity. We wanted to celebrate different folks from different places all over the world. So we had a fair, basically, of different countries that night. We had food, we had music. Even one of our students is originally from Kosovo. She set up her own booth to celebrate Kosovo, too. So we have all those things going on with that night. It's usually once in 9 weeks we have one of these family nights. We had a health fair where we contacted members of the community, anything from GHS to Clemson to whoever, and they came and set up booths to share health and wellness with all of our families at the school. There was some delicious food that night. Of course, y'all don't look too healthy. I am healthy, but enjoyed the food that night, healthy food, different exercises. You can do fitness tests and things like that. So as we do these things every year, they keep getting bigger. We have literacy night coming up February 26th. And then our STEAM night is April 9th. And our STEAM night, a lot of our local industries like to participate. So a lot of the big corporations bring in things. We have robots, we have all sorts of things. So it continues to grow every year too. And I look forward to seeing what we do this time. So here's some pictures from those nights. Our celebrations and events, we like to celebrate. We have our PBIS, or Positive Behavior celebrations. We have started including everyone because it's always hard to catch every kid, especially if you're giving the tokens or whatever else. So we have a celebration each 9 weeks. Depending on when it is or what it is, we do a shop till you drop right before Christmas time. Students can go in, they get $25, not real dollars, but we have a lot of donations, whether it be yard sale stuff, just trinkets, whatever else. And they go in and they buy things either from themselves or their families. Most of the time they buy things for their families. I got a great gift this year from Silas, and his brother got something, his mom got something too. They go in and do that. They enjoy it. Everybody look forward to it. And this is the first year that we let everyone do it. Used to be you had to have 25 Kiwi Cash to do it. Now everyone gets to do it. So if y'all want to donate some things, y'all let us know. If you want to get rid of yard sale stuff, please let us know, because we can use it for that celebration. End of the year, we'll do a water blast too. The fire department will come from next door and they'll spray water in the air, and it'll be a good time. We usually do that with our field day, but we've turned it into a celebration this year. Our BEAR program, again, that's to be excited about reading. That's our program or initiative that we're doing for our reading steps this year. We have Spirit Days, the first Friday of every month. We encourage our teachers and our students to wear Kiwi gear. Kiwi is, the color is originally red, so we're okay with wearing red colors. You can wear Kiwi shirts from the past. You can use Walhalla United colors, purple. So we want everyone to be included. So we celebrate those. So teachers get to wear their Spirit gear too. And our PTA has been sponsoring a competition each one, percentage of class participation. So they'll get a treat, popsicle, something like that. We had a trunk or treat this year for the first time. We were amazed at the number of folks that came out. We ran out of candy. That's how big it was. We thought we'd have just a few folks show up. It was lined up around the building for hours. So we know we need to buy more candy next year. My wife ran out of toothbrushes. She ran out of toothbrushes. So Arbor Day, we celebrate one of our local garden clubs donates a tree every year, and we plant a tree on Arbor Day, South Carolina version of Arbor Day, not the one in the spring. And then we have a teddy bear picnic with our kindergartners too. So that's just some of the things we do. I think that was the end of it. We've got Veterans Day celebration. You see the big cow down there? That's me and my associate principal there. I'm wearing the cow suit. That was Fairy Tale Day, so I was the cow jumping over the moon. I can't remember what Rhonda, I can't see what Rhonda was on that. She's what?
A fox or something?
She's a fox. Yeah. But that's the end of my presentation. I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to continue to do Principal Kiwi. I love it. Love working for you all. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holliday, and thank you and your staff for what you do. Next is public comment.
We don't have any.
Have no one sign up? Thank you. Now then, approval of minutes for December 10th, regular board meeting. Can I get a motion on that, please?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the December 10th regular board meeting.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Action items, first reading on policy JFB-E1, school choice application. Ms. Tanvey, you want to review that real quickly?
I will. We would like to run school choice from March the 1st till the first Friday in June. The change is recommended because this past year we extended it to the last day in June, and Mr. Holliday and some of our other elementary folks are not working the last day of June, so if somebody applies, if they don't go back in while they're on vacation, those folks might not get a response within our dictated time and policy, which is 2 weeks. So we would ask that you allow us to just make it the first Friday in June. Obviously, we know that'll change each year. And we're also asking to pull this part and make it a standalone form and not be part of the policy. So if Ms. Hughes decides she wants to change the date again next year, we don't have to come back here again. We've done it like 3 years in a row, so we kind of like to end that.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Hadley? Okay, can I get a motion to approve policy JFB-E1, school choice application on first reading?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve policy JFB-E1, school choice application on first reading.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Those in favor? Also on first reading, policy JLCD, assisting students with medications.
Yes, and this is one that will change, I'm just going to tell you now, this will change from first reading to second reading, because I had a few calls from schools when we put this out. This policy was updating at the principal's request, and we put in there, elementary students, parents would have to bring the medication in. They want us to consider and talk with you about, at a minimum, elementary and middle school have it be required that parents bring it in, and even as well into high school if our discussion leads that way. So the policy from 2011 basically left an open area for a student to bring the medication in on the bus or that kind of thing, and we wanted to clean that up because we had the example was a kindergarten student had his medicine in his backpack. Well, a kindergarten student, from the time he gets out of the car till the time he gets to the front door, there's a million things that have happened, and he didn't take the medicine to the nurse or to the office. So the parent called around lunchtime to say, did Johnny bring you the medicine for him to take? And they had to go and find it and get it out of his backpack, and that he hadn't done anything wrong with it. But so that principal said, we think we need to revisit this. I've talked with the nurses again, and some of the middle school folks, and so they would even like to extend it at least to the middle school and potentially have it be required that parents bring it in at each level.
So that's not what we're seeing right now, though.
That's not. That's what I'm saying. What
Okay,
you're seeing is
that
the
one
elementary
paragraph
part.
is not correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just want to give you the heads up. We'll have a principals meeting before the next for the last vote, and so depending upon what they do, we would send it out to you guys, and like we do on normally a Thursday before the Monday, and I can share with you any concerns or thoughts they have via email if we need to do so. So I just want to be up front and tell you there's a good chance that there'll be some tweaking of this between first and second reading.
Any questions, Mr. Hadley? Can I get a motion to approve policy JLCD, assisting students with medications?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve policy JLCD, assisting students with medications on the first reading.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor? And also on first reading, policy JLDBB-R, suicide prevention, intervention, and post-intervention.
Yes, this is our policy that we reviewed last week with our presentation from our Student Behavioral Health Committee. We are, wanting to put in place some procedures to help prevent, assess the risk of, and intervene and respond to suicide. So our policy begins with some definitions. The suicide warning signs, we have those listed there. One thing I did want to point out in that section is that we have that if any signs of suicide risk for a student were observed by anyone, it doesn't say that has to be specific people, must be reported immediately. So again, those warning signs are listed there. Then we move into suicide risk factors. We say that these risk factors do not cause or predict a suicide, but they are just merely characteristics that just make it more likely that an individual could possibly consider, attempt, or die by suicide. So those are listed there. Our suicide protective factors, these factors are positive conditions, things that we want to promote resiliency and reduce the likelihood that individuals would consider or even attempt or die by suicide. So those factors are also listed there. On the next page, we have student suicide risk management. This talks about our evaluations and the suicide assessments. We did share with you the Columbia Screener, which was one that our counselors and our mental health counselors are very familiar with. So that is one of our evaluations that we would like to be using as far as a tool in our schools. It also talks about our process that we would have in place for students who would be returning and reintegrating into the school after an attempt or suicide crisis, making sure we have a plan for reentry, who would be involved in those meetings, not only school personnel, but student and also parent and guardians. And then that we would also have a personal safety plan for the student in place before they plan to reenter. That also talks about additional adults on campus that might be a good support system to them, and also discussing and documenting any triggers that could be potential, things that that student may struggle with. The thing that we did add in our presentation was the postvention section that we said we would be adding into that policy for you to review tonight. But it's just our crisis intervention strategies that we will have in place and implement, just support that we will provide to the survivors in coping with a suicide incident, and our crisis strategies that we will implement as well.
Any questions of Ms. Simmons? Could I get a motion to approve policy JLDBB-R, suicide prevention, intervention, and postvention on first reading?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I make a motion that we approve on first reading policy JLDBB-R, suicide prevention, intervention, and postvention.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in
Jim.
favor?
I was going to have a question. I had a question. The last paragraph under the suicide postvention, is that a misspelled word?
Yes.
Yes,
Should be
it's just-
designed.
Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you.
We'll
Sorry
get
about
that
that.
cleaned up.
Still voted.
That concludes the open session portion of our meeting. We will return after the closed session to take any action required. Thank you for being here. And if I could get a motion to go into closed session for employment recommendations and changes, please.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we go into executive session for personnel items, employment recommendation, and changes.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. All in favor? Thank you.